Tonight, the OUSTER coalition.
Today, we succeeded. We made history. We held our promise.
Israel's left, right, and center united to bring down one man, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
This is a very unusual government.
And
if you are unvaccinated, you are still at risk of getting seriously ill or dying, or spreading disease to others.
The president's push to vaccinate Americans comes amid newly released emails from the president's chief medical advisor, Dr. Fauci. Plus,
there's a lot of speculation as to what's the motivation behind this rash of hacks.
An increase in cyber attacks in the United States. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Israel at a crossroads. Good evening, I'm Jenna Browder. Tonight, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's job is on the line. The embattled leader now facing a unified front set to remove him from power. The diverse group allied against Netanyahu, calling their new government a new beginning. This as Netanyahu vows to stand up to the newly formed coalition, urging right-wing members of the Israeli parliament to block the 8 opposition parties from taking office. The fragile coalition comes together amid recent turmoil in Israel. Today, during a flash visit to Washington, Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz met with Secretary of State Antony Blinken to affirm the United States' enduring commitment to Israel's security. Gantz is also in town to meet with Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. And here with us now, CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell. Chris, first off, is this coalition set in stone, or is there still a chance it could fall apart?
Well, Jenna, there still is a chance it could fall apart. Right now, they have the coalition agreement that they did last night, but they have about a week, maybe 10 days before it actually gets voted on by the Knesset. That's when it actually becomes the new government. And between now and then, things could happen. Jenna, it's been sort of like a Israeli version of Game of Thrones, and you really don't know what could happen in the next week or 10 days.
A lot of moving parts, and so much could happen, to your point. Well, 12 years in, and Netanyahu is Israel's longest-serving prime minister. Chris, he's, as you know, weathered quite a few storms. Does he have any way out of this one?
He really does. It's slim, Jenna, but it actually could happen. What could happen in the next week or 10 days is they could try to pressure, they meaning Netanyahu and his Likud party, try to pressure some of the members that are part of the coalition right now. It's a razor-thin coalition, 61 seats. So they really only need 1 or 2 defectors to actually get out of the coalition agreement before the Knesset votes. And that would give Netanyahu a way out. And if the government doesn't get ratified by the Knesset, then there'll be a 3-week period where people in the Knesset could form a government. If that doesn't happen, then it's likely that Israelis will go to the 5th election in just more than 2 years. So there is a way out. It's very slim. But a lot of people have written the obituary of Benjamin Netanyahu, and he still survived. We'll see what happens in the next 10 days or so.
Yeah, we will see. Well, Chris, for the first time in Israel's history, an Arab Islamist party. How historic is this, and that the group of 8 different parties are really coming together here to defeat Netanyahu?
Yeah, that's the one thing that is sort of the ideological glue that holds all these parties together, is the fact that they want to oust Prime Minister Netanyahu. It is historic to have an Arab party in a coalition right now. Usually they haven't been in any coalitions in Israel's history. And right now, so the Ra'am party, which is 4 seats, is really what they needed to make that 61-seat majority. It's historic because this is part of the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, they're affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood. They're anti-Zionist, and really they probably see Palestine maybe more favorable than Israel. However, Mansour Abbas is being pragmatic right now, and he wants to see what he can get for the Arab population of Israel. But that's historic. And I would add, Jenna, that many of these parties are so ideologically different. For example, on the right, you have people that would probably want to annex or declare sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, Israel's biblical heartland. And you have people on the other side, the left side of the political spectrum, that would want to have a 2-state solution and give some of the land back to the Palestinian Authority. So it really is a divergent, and some people don't think this is going to last. They think that Israelis will be going to elections before Americans go to elections in the midterms in 2022. And somebody has described it over here as like a car with four wheels all going the different directions. And we'll see if this car can actually make it if they get ratified.
All right. Chris Mitchell in our Jerusalem Bureau, it is so good to see you, and we appreciate you coming on with us. We know it's late there, so thank you.
Great to be with you, Jenna.
Well, in the fight against COVID-19, the Biden administration has exactly 1 month to meet its new goal, to get the vaccination rate up to 70% by July 4th. Right now, the CDC shows 63% of adults have had the shot. Meanwhile, the fire burns a little bit hotter under Dr. Anthony Fauci over more uncovered emails about his early knowledge and handling of the pandemic. Senior Washington correspondent Tara Mergener is here with that story. Tara?
Jenna, the emails dated from January to June of 2020 offer a glimpse into the early days of the pandemic and Fauci's conflicting messages on the virus. However, in 2021, it is all about the administration's major push for a vaccine.
Jonathan Carlisle from Toledo. Congratulations.
Cash prizes, extended pharmacy hours, and free childcare. All the ways the White House hopes to entice Americans to get vaccinated.
Our successful vaccination program isn't just saving tens of thousands of lives. It's letting tens of millions of Americans get back to living their lives.
While President Biden praises the vaccine, Republican critics want his chief medical advisor to be fired after pre-pandemic emails from Fauci, such as one saying masks don't work against COVID-19. More than 3,000 of his emails now public thanks to the Freedom of Information Act. In some, flip-flopping on the mask mandate.
It's the very definition of theater. If you ask him about immunity, if you ask him privately, if I've had the disease, do I in all likelihood have immunity? He'll say yes, but then he'll say, oh, we're going to completely discount it.
February 2020, Fauci telling a former Health and Human Services secretary they were not really effective in keeping out the virus, which is small enough to pass through material, a position he held for weeks after this exchange, including in a 60 Minutes interview.
You're sure of it, because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
Then, 2 months later, the CDC updated guidelines to recommend mask wearing. Just last month, Fauci insisting unvaccinated children should still wear them while playing with friends.
You want them to continue to wear masks when they're interacting with groups from multiple households.
He's also hitting back at Republicans, accusing him of shifting opinions on the idea COVID-19 emerged in a lab in Wuhan, China. The theory gaining traction last month after reports of researchers there being hospitalized in late 2019. Fauci, who admits the NIH earmarked $600,000 for the lab, which conducted gain-of-function research, now wants more rigorous investigation into the origins of the virus.
But I keep an open mind all the time, and that's the reason why I have been public that we should continue to look for the origin.
Meanwhile, in an internal memo obtained by Vanity Fair, a former State Department official wrote that staff from 2 bureaus warned leaders not to pursue an investigation into the origin of COVID-19 because it would open a can of worms if it continued. As Republicans demand Fauci be ousted, Democrats continue to defend him, arguing his positions have evolved with the scientific evidence at the time. Jenna?
All right, Tara Mergener, thank you very much. Well, tonight, more cyber fallout as the White House bluntly directs businesses to shore up digital defenses. That memo including the warning that no company is safe. CBN News White House correspondent Eric Phillips has more on this alarming trend. Eric?
Well, Jenna, if you're keeping score, there have been 4 major cyber attacks here in the U.S. in recent weeks, 3 of them attributed to either people in Russia or in China. Now it goes from fuel to transportation to food. America's infrastructure is under attack, and experts say there's likely more to come.
The most recent attack happened Wednesday near Cape Cod. Criminals hacking the ferry to Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard and demanding ransom just as the summer season picks up. The FBI now says the JBS food distributor hacked last weekend points to criminals in Russia. Meat production now returning to normal at U.S. plants, and officials say food quality was not impacted. May's Colonial Pipeline hack impacted the entire East Coast, sending fuel prices soaring and prompting long lines at gas stations. Authorities say Russian hackers were also behind this one. And the nation's largest transit system in New York City now revealing an attack in April, when officials say Chinese actors penetrated their system with minimal effects. This memo from the White House Thursday with a clear warning saying, in part, all organizations must recognize that no company is safe from being targeted by ransomware, regardless of size or location.
Business leaders have a responsibility to strengthen their cyber defenses to protect the American public and our economy. Companies that view ransomware as a threat to their core business operations, rather than a simple risk of data theft, will react and recover more effectively.
It's a disturbing trend that, while not a new crime, is growing, according to experts.
We've observed evidence of ransomware attacks at over 80 food and beverage companies that led to disruptions from ransomware over the last few years. This problem is escalating and getting increasingly out of hand.
Security officials say this is now the main warfare, with the potential to be more impactful than any other. And they say now is not the time to be caught unaware.
I think the takeaway right now is if you're a corporate executive or a state and local government agency head and you thought that you would be spared, that criminals wouldn't go after you, guess what? They went after our gas and they went after our hot dogs. No one is out of bounds here.
While the president signed an executive order laying out new cyber defense plans last month, the White House has been clear that they can't do it alone. They need businesses to take steps of their own. And as the president prepares to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin later on this month, you can be sure that the actions of criminals in Russia that have negatively affected the U.S. will come up. Jenna.
All right, CBN White House correspondent Eric Phillips, thank you. And joining us now is Amy Myers Jaffe, a cybersecurity expert and director of research at Tufts University and the author of the new book, Energy's Digital Future. Amy, welcome. It's great to have you. So first, the president's upcoming meeting with Putin. What does President Biden need to do in that meeting to make sure that Russia knows it cannot harbor these bad actors?
Well, I think the president is going to come forward with a message that has to emphasize the deterrent effect. In other words, make it clear that the United States is not going to tolerate these actions. The Russians have signaled a willingness to talk about cyber in a sort of a detente kind of way. They said through the UN, well, that's not going to be acceptable. It really needs to be a bilateral dialogue. But I do think this is going to be the main topic, in addition to topics like Ukraine and others that are high on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. So this latest memo from the White House, Amy, says that no company is safe. Is that true?
Well, you know, we always think like, oh, I'm too small, it doesn't matter. But the real bottom line here is companies need to look at their systems. But the most important thing is companies need to have what I call a resilience plan. Like if you're hacked, do you know what you would do? Do you have your data stored in a non-internet way on a spare computer? What is your backup plan? What is your forward plan if you receive a hack? And I think a lot of companies have really not prepared for that. If you think about the actions that companies and the government took together after September 11, this is no different. The less vulnerable installations, vital infrastructure, companies that control vital infrastructure, the better job they do, the less apt we are going to have to face something where, the president and his team have to deal with actors like Russia or China or Iran in an international setting where they're going to try to use a cyber hack to pressure the United States.
Mm-hmm. So does the Biden administration's plan to address cybersecurity go far enough in terms of preventing more cyber threats?
Well, I think that the first step is to try to put the business community on notice that they have to take their own responsibilities for resilience. But I think the next step also has to be, clarifying and streamlining the agencies that are in charge of this at the federal level and improving coordination.
All right. Well, her new book is Energy's Digital Future. Amy Myers Jaffe, it's always great to have you on in this area of expertise that you know so much about. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And coming up, a former presidential candidate and conservative commentator fired from CNN.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come with...
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Well, welcome back. Well, conservative commentator Rick Santorum says President Trump changed the face of CNN forever. The former Republican presidential candidate spoke with CBN's chief political analyst David Brody in the wake of his firing from the network for comments he made about Native Americans.
How surprised were you that CNN decided to do this, to let you go over this?
There was a whole group of people who were aligned for the last 4.5 years to get me off CNN. I mean, every time I was on CNN, Twitter would light up, Facebook would light off with calls to get rid of me, no matter what I said on the air. There is an effort on, and you see this, you call it cancel culture, and it's correct, where people on the left do not want to hear from different points of view. They want to silence any alternative viewpoints, any criticism of what they believe in, any promotion of an alternative point of view. I don't mind being held accountable for what I say, and I don't mind suffering consequences if I say things that are out of line. But I don't think that's what this is about. I think this is simply about an effort by people who have been paid. What I'm told, I was told by CNN, paid a lot of money. These groups were paid a lot of money to get rid of me, and they accomplished it.
They're down almost 70% of viewers since Trump left office. It seems like Trump yet again was right. He's good for business.
I look forward to coming there, and I always saw them as, sure, they were left of center, but I saw them as much more of a straight news organization than certainly an MSNBC or even Fox for that matter. So I look forward to the opportunity. But as you say, I mean, they've changed. Donald Trump changed a lot of things. He changed CNN, and they certainly rested their ratings on making every show the Donald Trump show.
Rick Santorum, always great to see you. Give my best to Karen and the family.
My pleasure. Thank you, David. Always a pleasure to be with you and CBN.
Up next, jobless claims fall to the lowest level since the early days of the pandemic.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Saturday night at 6 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Tonight, jobless claims are at a pandemic low, falling to a level not seen since March of 2020. Weekless jobless claims fell to 385,000 last week, a decline from the previous week's 405,000, and below the Dow Jones estimate of 393,000. The new unemployment numbers come as college graduates, class of 2021, are more hopeful than ever. According to a new report from bestcolleges.com, 73% of college grads are optimistic about landing a job within a year of graduating. And joining us now is Melissa Venable, a PhD and education advisor for bestcolleges.com. Melissa, great to have you with us this evening. So tell us more about this finding. It's wonderful to hear so many college grads feel so good about finding work.
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. This is really encouraging news. 73% of those who said they're looking for work after graduation are feeling really good about it. Although we are seeing a little bit of a caution there, maybe some realism with that optimism. And then about a little over 50% are saying that they are a little apprehensive about the current job market. So optimistic, but maybe realistic as well.
Yeah. So how did the pandemic and the economy change college grads' immediate plans after graduation?
Right. They shared a lot of effects that they feel like that COVID had, and closing down their campuses and closing some of the workplaces where they would have had internships. About a third said that they were unable to do an internship, but they thought they would have otherwise. A little over 40% shared that their plans have likely changed. Because of the pandemic, their employment plans, their career plans are just not the same as they might have been otherwise. But we are seeing a little bit of hope here as well, with 41%, a little less than half, saying that they feel like this is going to have a long-term effect. So we're hoping that the optimism in entering the job market right after graduation is going to continue.
Yeah. So what about remote work? This has become such a way of life for most of us during this pandemic, 2020, 2021. Are college graduates coming out of school today, prepared or maybe even expecting to at least work some from home?
I think so. Certainly they were remote learners for at least a year, maybe a little bit longer for many of them. And 60% of those that we surveyed said that they felt like they were ready to work remotely as well. So I think we're going to see some skills that they developed in technology platforms that they use to communicate and collaborate with classmates. They're going to need those skills. They're going to use them on the job as well. They also reported to us in several other surveys that we've done this year that they're feeling like this whole experience that they had in education with COVID in the last year has taught them to be flexible and more adaptable, and that they're going to take those skills forward as well.
Yeah. Well, you know, students and young people were some of the most hard-hit people by the pandemic in terms of missing, you know, those milestones, proms, graduations, all of these things. So, yeah, we certainly wish the class of 2021 the very best, and I'm so happy to hear that that they're so optimistic about the future. Melissa Venable with bestcolleges.com, thank you so much. Great to have you tonight.
Thank you.
And still ahead, a day of celebration for basketball legend Coach K after announcing his retirement. We reflect on his career and Christian leadership.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link. Tuesday morning at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Finally tonight, one of college basketball's greatest coaches is hanging up his clipboard. From West Point to Duke, Mike Krzyzewski, had more wins than any coach in the history of Division I men's basketball. Coach K led Duke's Blue Devils to 5 national championships in 41 seasons. He also coached the American men's basketball team to 3 Olympic gold medals. He says humility is the key to Christian leadership.
Use your talents towards ethical solutions to problems. You know, use them right. To me, that's what being Christian is.
And that's a good word. Well, Coach K also says there's no greater joy than being a part of his players' lives, both on and off the court. And that does it for Faith Nation. Have a great night.